I'm doing today's episode. I was going to say it's a little off topic, but it isn't off topic. And it isn't off topic because while I do work with people who have gone through breakups and divorces, I also work with people who are just experiencing life. Because you've gone through a breakup or divorce doesn't mean that everything else happening in your life is going to slow down and stop for you. Right now, we in California, especially north of me, are experiencing these fires that have been going on now for over 2 days. And yesterday, it dawned on me that I was riveted to the news and getting anxious about what I was seeing on television and reaching out to friends and family to find out, is everybody okay? Do people need a place to come? My mom and I were letting people know, look, if you need to evacuate, you are welcome to come here. And then there were people contacting us because they don't know geographically the proximity from where we live to where the fires were happening. So there were calls coming and going. And then you're online checking your social media, you're checking the news online. There are community groups, that people belong to, and you're getting information from all of these different sources. And it's almost overwhelming, even when you're not dealing directly with what's going on. Indirectly, you're still somehow being impacted by it. So one of the things that happened for me or to me yesterday was just experiencing on social media people's frustration and their anger and their inability to reconcile what was going on. And on top of that, people who are not being directly impacted because they live several hours away from where the fires are happening. But, people have an opinion, right? Everybody has an opinion. And some of what I was seeing was concerning. Actually, it was disturbing for me. People complaining that the fire department doesn't know what they're doing, or the leadership is terrible. It's the mayor's fault. It's the government's fault. It's climate change, and we need to pay attention to that. It's we don't have enough dams in that area, or we should be using the dams, or we have too many dams. It was just this barrage of information, and a lot of it was criticism. I just got to a point where I remember sitting on my sofa thinking, this isn't helping me. It's not helping anybody else either. And what if this was us? Would we actually be prepared? Would we actually be prepared? And so I wrote an article, and I decided I'm just going to get on here and through what I was thinking and feeling in my experience, because I don't typically watch a lot of news, but I could not turn this off. I would say for the first 24 hours of these fires, if I was awake, I was probably sitting in front of the TV watching what was going on with these fires and trying to get other things done. And at about that 24-hour mark is when this hit me, and I decided to start writing some things down about how I was feeling and what I was thinking. And it was to counter all of the negativity that I was hearing that really wasn't serving anybody. I think when people are in the middle of something this traumatic, which you can't even measure this against anything, right? This is a historically horrific fire or series of fires, sets of fires that individuals are experiencing. And it's not just going to change the landscape of this part of California. It is going to change the experience of California for people forever. I don't even know if anybody can fathom or imagine what this is going to be like over the next several years or even decade or more. And so as I was listening to, it's the climate change, it's the overuse of dams, we need more dams. As I was reading all of this, I kept coming back to, what's my responsibility? What is it that I could do? What is my responsibility at this point? And I have a really good friend of mine who actually one of my first coaching programs that I was in, she was actually the instructor, the facilitator for that. And we've since become really good friends. I reached out to her because she is the one person I could think of that has experienced losing everything in a fire. But what I started thinking of was something she had told me years ago. Go through your house and catalog all of your belongings as best you can. And what she meant by that was literally go through your house and with the intent of creating a list, a spreadsheet that says, this is the item, this is the name brand, this is the value. as best you can with your thing. And the reason people don't do this is, one, we never think it's going to be us. It's always somebody else. The things that have happened, excuse me, they happen to somebody else. It's never us. And then the other thing is, it's time consuming to do that. And it's like taking the time to go through every room and every closet and all of your drawers, and to check the artwork, and to make sure you put your photo album someplace where you can get them out of that. All of the things that we can do to feel prepared. And it got me to thinking, what are we doing in our community? And so I'm going to put this to you as well. What are you doing in your community, in your home, to make sure that you've done everything you can to be prepared should something like this happen? What are you doing in your home so that we're not just sitting here spectating on this experience? Now, let me start with the things, like I said, that I actually did do initially. And it was making the phone calls. It was looking on Facebook to see, does anybody that I know that I'm connected to, do they need help? Are there people that I should be calling, or that I could call just to check on them? Who was checking on me and I need to get back to them, or post something on my social media? So these are all things that I was able to do pretty immediately. And then to continue to monitor and keep an eye on those things. And then I thought, wow, what if this did happen? So I had a conversation with my mom yesterday morning to go, are we prepared to evacuate quickly? My mom she's already formulated this plan. And we have a basket near our front door that actually has our photo albums in it. And right above that are all of our digital albums from vacations and things like that. And that's something I picked up a long time ago from my time working with Creative Memories as a creative memories consultant. It's helping people understand that there is a way for them to preserve their photos, their family photographs, and then to make sure, you know what, keep these things someplace. Like, don't put these things on a shelf in your basement. One, they could get damaged in a flood if they're on the bottom shelf. But two, if something happens and you really need to get out of your home, you're not going to run down in your basement to get photo albums. And keep the ones that are really, really important someplace where you can grab them and go. And so it's things like that: your passport, your insurance papers, all of your important documents. Are they someplace where you can get them and leave? And so my mom was sharing with me years ago, before I moved out here, that she and my dad, they actually had a bag, a ready bag near the front door that they could just grab, because there were fires coming close enough to them that the idea of having to evacuate quickly was something they had to consider. So that was the conversation I had with her. And so I just kept going on that train of thought about, am I prepared? Would I be prepared? And again, my friend Kath kept popping into my head, and it was that catalog everything. So it just so happens that in the last couple of days, I finally decided to take the Christmas tree down. I know, don't judge me. Don't judge me. It stays up until I take it down. So I had all the boxes in the house to start taking the ornaments down. And I had actually started packing some of the ornaments. And I made the decision yesterday to take them out. And I photographed every single ornament before I packed it. Took a picture of the tree topper, all the other holiday decorations before I packed them. I have taken pictures of all of them now. So at some point now, I just need to sit down, go through the pictures, put them in a folder, and I'm going to put them on a zip drive, and then I will save them to the cloud. And then today, Kath and I were talking again, and actually had the idea of, you know what, I make vacation photo albums every year after our vacation. Any family and friends that were on last year's vacation, they're like, so when are you going to do it? Yeah, I usually get it done within the year. So I still have a couple more months. But it dawned on me, you know what, this is exactly what I should do with everything that I'm documenting in the house for insurance purposes, is create a digital book, something tangible that I could actually have, that if I needed to just pick it up and take out of the house. So that way it would be in three places. I would have an actual book. Someone told me today that they actually did a video of each room. And again, that's something that you could put on a USB drive, or you could save it on your computer, save it in the cloud, put it in a couple of different places so that you have it if you need to send it to your insurance company. And my thought about this was, we pay for homeowners insurance and we get riders, or we make sure that if we're in a flood zone, we have flood insurance, or in most of California state, you have fire insurance if you're able to get it. But just general basic homeowners insurance, should your dishwasher overrun or your basement flood or anything happen, a house fire. It may not be a wildfire, but it's just your something malfunction in your house. I remember when I was little, my grandparents had an electrical fire in the wall of their home. And I think somebody smelled something that just didn't smell right. And that's how they knew something's not right. And they got somebody in and they opened the wall up and they were able to find it. But what if that had not been caught in your house? This is the reason we have homeowners insurance. And I thought, okay, but we get the insurance, but do we do what we should do to be prepared in case we ever need to use the insurance? And what Kath was trying to get me to understand all these years is this: cataloging all of your belongings, making sure that your insurance covers all of your belongings. She even asked me about landscaping. Does your homeowner's insurance policy cover landscaping should your entire property be burned down? It was just getting me thinking about things like that. But I was proud that I decided to go ahead and start with my Christmas tree ornaments. So that's what I did. But the question I want to pose to you is, are you prepared? And do you want to be prepared? And I would say, take a break from the news, your social media feeds, the online fodder. And if you are not in an area where you're actually dealing with this right now, you're somebody like me who's close enough to be concerned, but not close enough to be directly impacted, or no matter where you are in the country right now, you may not even be in an area where this is even relevant to you other than it's happening to other humans. Have you documented everything in your home and categorized it so that if something did happen, you have it all on a sheet, a spreadsheet, in some sort of document that you could send to your insurance agent? And another thing that I learned is that you want to be specific with these items. You want to be as specific as you possibly can. And from my understanding, the insurance company is going to give you an average on what that item might be. And I use sheets as an example. Maybe you have a set of $30 sheets, or you have a set of $50 sheets, but maybe you have a set of $300 sheets. And if the insurance company is only going to give you $40 because they've done some average estimation on what a set of sheets should cost, then that's all you're going to get. And so you're not actually coming even close to being able to replace your bed linen. Things like your shoes. Are they $100 pair of shoes? Are they a $800 pair of shoes? And how is the insurance company going to know? How are you going to prove that if you don't have any way of documenting it? And no one is going to want to go through all of their bank information or check receipts or have saved receipts of every item you purchased in your home. But this spreadsheet and photographs are going to give you pretty much everything that you need to make sure that you can prove to your insurance company that what you're turning in is legitimate and that you actually had it in your home. Again, I was talking about your homeowner's policy. You definitely want to review your homeowner's insurance policy. What does it cover? Is it covering everything that's in your home now? And how is it covered? Is it covered for replacement cost, current value? What is the policy? And maybe you need to have a real conversation with your insurance agent. If you have gone through a breakup or a divorce, this is a really good time for you to revisit your insurance policy. Okay. If you've just split up or you're about to split up, this is a good time to contact your insurance provider and find out, what is this going to look like? What will be different, or will anything be different? Do you need to lower the policy? Maybe you and your ex are dividing up assets that are in the home, and maybe you don't need as big of a policy as you were carrying before. Think about that as well as you're going through this, and you can kind of do two things at once. Make sure you are preparing yourself in case there is some sort of hazard, and you're also taking care of what you need to take care of as you're going through your breakup. I asked things like, do you have safety equipment in your home? Do you have fire extinguishers? Do you have working smoke detectors with good batteries? Do you have an alarm system in your home? These are all things that don't really require a whole lot of money. Getting a fire extinguisher is as simple as running down to your local hardware store. But it's amazing to me how many people don't have one in their home. And you probably should have it in your kitchen and make sure it's the right kind of extinguisher. Make sure you get one for the grease that you would likely have if it's a fire on your stovetop. Are you practicing safe fire habits? This was one that was really important to me as I was on one of the community threads listening to people, because I live in an area that could very easily be a tinderbox or could already be considered one. It is according to some insurance companies, we are in a high risk fire zone, which is why I've learned that some people lost fire insurance or couldn't get it. And then you start asking yourself things like, do you burn trash in your yard? Do you have smokers in your house? And do people walk around the yard with lit cigarettes? And are you paying attention if you drop what you think is an ash and maybe it's just an ember that is simmering in dry leaves in your yard while you're sleeping at night? So it's things like this. Do you barbecue on your property? And are you really, really careful with how you dispose of the coal or whatever it is that you're using to cook, to barbecue? Are you really careful about making sure nothing has no sparks or pieces of anything have ended up in your lawn? These are things that people do on a regular, entertaining in their yard with family and friends. And it's really easy to get slack, to get lackadaisical about what you're doing. I was reading this morning, and I think it was a 2020 or 2021 fire that happened here in California. And the fire started in the backyard from a gender reveal party where they had something that sparked and exploded. And so, again, it's not something that you're going to think about when you go and get whatever the gender reveal device was that you paid for. They probably don't say to you, hey, this is a potential fire hazard. And you're not conscious of it. You probably didn't think we should wet the whole lawn down before we do this because something could spark. And so we have to be more diligent in the things that we do on a day to day, on a regular basis, just in our day to day living and enjoying life, that we realize and remember where we live and how easy it actually is to ignite a fire. And again, this whole episode really is to get you to do something that I've been doing myself, like I said, the last couple of days. Am I doing everything that I can? Are you doing everything you can before anything even happens? So that if, God willing, it's never something that you have to be concerned with, but if it were to happen, have you taken responsibility in all the necessary ways so that on the other side of it, you have things in order for your insurance? You've done enough stuff so that you can actually prevent this from happening because you're being really cautious. It's just easy to overlook these risks when you're enjoying spending time in your yard and entertaining your guests. Palm trees. Oh my goodness. I didn't know until we moved to California that there was a thing called a self-cleaning palm tree. And that's a palm tree where the branches grow out, and when they get dried up and die, they literally just fall off of the tree to the ground. So you still have to clean up from the ground, versus the palm trees where the leaves die and they dry and they collapse down onto the tree trunk. And so you've probably seen these. Well, there are a couple within, we can see them from our yard. Two, and they've got to be 3 stories, maybe 4 stories high. And it's just an entire tree of dead branches that are just hanging, palm tree branches rather, that are just hanging on this thing. And I've been told by multiple people that is a fire hazard. That is a matchstick waiting to get lit. And I know for a fact, if one of those things falls over, it's close enough that if it falls this in our direction, it will cover just about our entire backyard. So it would be like a flaming torch falling over into our yard. This is an unpruned tree. And so the question is, do you have trees on your property that need to be pruned that haven't been, and they are a fire hazard? Do you have debris? I was listening to the news today, and they literally were saying to people, make sure you don't have dry leaves, bushes, all sorts of dead things or whatever in your yard that need to be cleaned up. Even old furniture that you're not using. wooden benches, anything that's in your yard that you are not using that could be a potential risk, get that stuff out of your yard. There's no way to avoid chemicals when you have a fire, a house fire, because everything that the house is built with pretty much has chemicals in it. And then there are all of our cleaning products. There are paint cans. There are all sorts of things that are in your garage that could increase the fire. They're flammable, but even if they're not, they're toxic. So then we're talking about this smoke that people are going to be living with for weeks or months, and just how toxic the smoke is that people are walking around and inhaling right now. And if you have things in your home, in your garage that are flammable or just toxic that you don't need and you're no longer using, figure out how do you dispose of these things properly and do that. And you can check with your police department or your fire department. They can usually tell you what you need to do and where you need to take these things so that they can be disposed of properly. I already talked about important documents, things that have sentimental value, all of those things, and how you want to be able to get those things quickly and get them out of your home. I thought today, it's just crazy. I'm kind of consumed with this, but I thought today, if there was a fire within, I don't know, 50 miles of here or 25 miles of here, I could call my niece who's 4 hours away or one of my sisters and say, hey, we need you to drive up to the house and we're going to put some stuff in your car for you guys to take home. And that way we can get a few more things out of the house. And so my brain literally just started going, what are some of these other things that I could brainstorm just to be prepared for an evacuation? I saw on NBC4 yesterday, and then I read it again today, that this fire started in someone's backyard. And this was another reason it was just so important for me to talk about, what am I doing? What are we doing as individuals other than critiquing or criticizing what we're witnessing going on in Los Angeles and Los Angeles County and the surrounding area? Because I can't tell if there were supposed to be more dams or fewer dams, or how much of this is related to climate change, because it doesn't even matter. People's homes are burning to the ground. 5 people have lost their lives. So those family members of those 5 people are not just devastated at the loss of property, but they've lost loved ones. And so who the heck am I to be sitting around talking about what's not being done right when I haven't done due diligence on my own behalf? So I'm going to tell you another way this lines with what I talk about. If you know, the ACT in Joy, the A.A.C.T, is all about accountability, alignment, communication, and trust. And so this is heavy on the accountability stuff. This conversation that I'm having right now, this is heavy on the accountability, because this is about me, you, us taking accountability for the things that we can do right now. Because I really don't have any control if that fire were closer and it was spreading and our property was at risk. There's really nothing I could do about it short of trying to run around my house with water hoses, which I've joked, but I don't know if it's really a joke. I think I might be one of those people for a little while. And I was watching a couple on the news yesterday. The husband was on the roof of the house and the wife was running around the side of the house up the driveway with a fire hose, and he was on the roof because they are desperately trying to save their property. And I can appreciate that mindset, that you've put so much time and energy and effort and money into your property, but you do, have to weigh that against another video that I saw of a couple of people trapped in their home, and it was all glass and you could see all the flames coming up the side of the property. And I'm just praying to God that they made it out, and it may not have been, they didn't adhere to the evacuation notification. It may be that this thing snuck up on them so quickly, they didn't have time to get out. Someone I talked to today, her family woke up or were awakened at 3:30 in the morning saying, you got to get out. And that's because when they went to bed, they were not in jeopardy. And during the course of the night, while they were sleeping, the fire spread, embers blew, and before they knew it, their neighborhood was now one of the neighborhoods on fire. And so again, it can be really easy when you're not there experiencing it. It can be easy to say what you would have done or what somebody else should have done or how it should have been handled. But this is not something you cannot prepare for a fire moving this rapidly in 94-mile-per-hour winds. These Santa Ana winds last night or the night before were gusting up to 94 miles an hour. That is hurricane level wind. And so we could all sit around and criticize and share notes and all that, but I'm really wanting us to discontinue doing that, not just in situations like this, but in a whole lot of other situations where our opinion means nothing. Us deciding that we know better or what they coulda, shoulda, woulda, as my dad used to say, done, it doesn't really matter. But can you look around and figure out what is it that I should be learning from this? What is it that I could and maybe should be doing on my own behalf? Because there, but for the grace of God, go me. Let me do something here. Let me just do that, and we'll see if I'm getting some messages in. Oh, good. I just learned that a family set up a GoFundMe, and good. There's a link for that for one of the families that I was in communication with, so that's good. One of the other things that I did do today, actually yesterday, I think, or this morning, I sent a message to my two of my sisters who are out of state, and I asked them to go through their closet and look for and pull out any clothes that they are okay parting with. And then we can figure out if they can get them in a box and ship them to me or whatever. But I was really serious about doing that because that was, again, what can I do? That's something I can do. I can start getting clothes together. So bless her little heart, my mom went through her closets and drawers this morning and filled an entire green bag full of clothes. And I went upstairs and did the same thing. And I'm going to say this because this is a little pet peeve of mine. I don't believe in donating things that I wouldn't want to wear. Now, not because I don't like them or they don't fit. That's the reason I get rid of them. I don't like them. They don't fit anymore. But if it's got holes in it, if it's just worn, if it's dirty, and I have had people go, well, beggars shouldn't be choosy. Well, one, these people aren't begging. And I really don't want anybody walking around wearing something that they wouldn't be able to say, Dr. Lisa gave this to me, and I wouldn't be proud of it, that I gave it to them, that they're wearing something they got from me. So I really always ask people, I don't care if you're donating it to a homeless shelter, to the Goodwill in your community, some other charitable organization, treat it like it matters. Make sure the items are clean, make sure they are in good condition, and, treat them with the respect that you will want your clothes to be treated, even when you're giving them away. So I went through my closet, pulled out some more things. I'm going to go through them today. I'll iron them, make sure everything is good. I had a couple of purses that I've really never used. They had dust on them. I'm going to clean those up, and we'll have some items that we can make sure are fit to be used proudly, worn proudly. And then I'll figure out how I'm going to get them. I'm going to help. I'm supporting another good friend of mine. Dr. Gwen has a family that someone reached out to her, and I'm going to double up with her and help support her. Again, I am not sure how the fire started. Like I said, I heard on last night and read today that NBC was reporting it started in the backyard, but I did hear the fire chief, I believe it was today, saying they are still investigating the cause of this fire. Having said that, so many times we find out that these fires were started by just somebody being negligent. This morning on one of my social media threads, somebody posted they just watched someone throw a lit cigarette out of their car window onto the side of the road. And these are things that have been known to cause fires. So we just have to be really mindful, people, really mindful. Some of the other things that I thought about, like what else could we do? Does the local fire department have a program or classes, flyers that go out, some way of notifying the community of what things are allowed and what things aren't? There usually are rules and regulations. It's just that a lot of people don't know them. And are they putting them in English and Spanish or any other languages that might be spoken a lot in that community so that people whose first language is not English get the notices and can understand them? Are we calling the fire department when maybe it's not us because we're doing all the right things in our yard, but maybe it's a neighbor, and maybe the neighbor has the trees that haven't been pruned in a decade. Maybe the neighbor is burning wood or trash or something in their yard, and they're not thinking that one ember coming over the fence could set your neighbor's house on fire. One ember smoldering on your rooftop, and your house could catch on fire because of something happening one or two or three houses away. And so we really need to be mindful. So when that's the case, who do you call? And I know it's difficult for some people. You don't want to be that neighbor that's always calling, but I need you to really pay attention to what's going on right now. We could very easily, either one of us, being negligent and irresponsible about how we're managing our own property, we could be the reason that a neighborhood goes down. I mean, it's just real. So how in your community, who do you report things like that to? Is it illegal to burn in the front yard? Is there a code about trees not being maintained, palm trees like that are basically tinder boxes all by themselves? What are the conditions that could turn your community, your block, your home into a tinderbox? If you live close enough to your neighbor that you could toss a ball to them if they're standing in their yard and you're standing in yours, this is something you should really consider, and you should be a little bit concerned about it and do something about it before it's a problem, which would be now. So these were a lot of the questions that I had, because watching this fire raging, and we're seeing homes, private homes and nursing homes and, other care facilities that are being evacuated or have just burned to the ground. Today, I watched an elementary school. They walked through what was left of the insides of this elementary school. I believe it's Palisades High School has been completely burned to the ground. And it's interesting because I've talked to 3 people who I had no idea either attended or had a good friend or family member who attended that high school, who are like, man, their high school is completely gone. I talked about already the health implications of this smoke. What is it going to mean for medical personnel, for individuals who already had health conditions to have gone through this, and the people that we see on the news walking up the middle of their street with what's left of their belongings, with either no mask, ill-fitting mask, or ineffective masks? And what is that going to be like? I just wanted to take time to come on here and talk about this because it was really concerning me. It was really concerning me. I was thinking about my community, and then I realized this could be anybody, anywhere. Okay, these are just things that we could be thinking about way before it becomes a real concern that we have to contend with, before there's a fire on your street or on your block or even a mile away from you. We don't need to wait for that to be the case. We don't need to wait until we're hearing evacuation notices before we start figuring out, what is it that I would do? What can I do? We can talk about what we can do now, and we can do things now. So again, just quickly, right now, wherever you are, if you have an inclination to want to help the people who have been impacted by the fires in Los Angeles County, that area, you can go online, go to the city of Los Angeles, and there are several websites available. You can make donations. You can get on Facebook and check your friends. You probably have somebody that's connected to somebody who actually needs help. And you can basically do what I'm doing with a girlfriend, almost help sponsor a family. You can make clothing donations if you're close enough. Start going through your closets and your drawers and pulling out those clothes that are still in good enough condition to be worn, and start putting those things together. And maybe you just have a box that when you figure out where you can send it, you can send it. You can post something on your social media and say, look, I have clothes in these sizes, and I would be more than happy to mail them to someone who is in need of help. Figure out what it is that you can do. And even if you don't do that, pray. If you're a praying person, pray on behalf of all of these individuals who have been impacted by this and those who will continue to be impacted, because this thing is still raging. It is still raging. It's, I don't know that anybody can predict, short of us getting a downpour, how this thing is going to end or when it's going to end. It is still raging. And then I really want you to sit somewhere in your own home and look around and go through some of the things I talked about. Do you have fire extinguishers? Do you have smoke detectors? Do you have an alarm system? If you have hoses on the outside of your home, are they working? And do you have spray nozzles on them? And this isn't so you can put your own house fire out, but it is so if you start an accidental fire because you're grilling out back, or somebody does accidentally set some leaves on fire with a cigarette, you're not just stomping it out. You're going to hose that thing down, and then you're going to bury it with dirt. You want to smother it, but don't take it lightly that you think you've put a ember out just because you stomped on it. And so I just want you to start thinking, what things can you do? Get online and Google it. What are the things that I can do to be proactive so that I'm doing all that I can to, one, not be the person who starts a fire by accident on my property, but to safeguard my home as best I can and be prepared to evacuate if I need to. I hope this has been helpful. The last couple of days, another one of the groups that I'm on, I get notices all the time about people who just filed for divorce, or they're about to file for divorce, or they're going through. And I know that as big an area as this catastrophe has struck, that there are people in these areas who were already in the middle of a breakup or a divorce, or just filed for one, or were about to file for one, and now this has happened. And so it's devastation on top of devastation. And I guess the one thing that I would say to you is take this one day at a time, take it 1 hour at a time. I'll share something I shared with a friend earlier today. It's the fact that you are still alive. If that is the only thing that you can hold on to that and hold on to it very tightly, because you're here for a reason. And it's easy to look at all of the things that are being lost. It is so easy to look at all of the things that are being lost when there's so much loss happening. But find a way to remind yourself of the things that you still have. If you were only going through a divorce, one of the exercises I might give you would be to, okay, write down one good thing that's happened as a result of this divorce, and people sometimes struggle, but they usually end up finding one good thing. You may not be able to find a good thing about losing everything in a fire. It's not going to feel like a good thing. It is going to feel the way it feels. And so what I'm going to say to you is feel that. Allow yourself to have those emotions. And this might be a good time for you to journal. I almost got through an entire episode without mentioning journaling. It's just probably not going to happen. This would be a good time to start journaling. Get yourself a little notepad, or use your note thing on your phone and write down what you're experiencing. I just learned that if you can name an emotion, you take the power away. So instead of pretending you're not angry, acknowledge that I'm angry, and this is why I'm angry. If you feel hurt or sad or upset or frustrated, acknowledge the feelings that you're having, and then write down why you're feeling that, and just continue to breathe through. It's like, this is why I'm pissed off. This is just really pissing me off. I'm so frustrated right now. I can't believe this is happening. Acknowledge all of those feelings and allow yourself to experience them and process them. That doesn't mean that you have to act all of them out, but you will benefit from identifying them, naming them, and giving yourself permission to experience them. And if you look around, there are people around who care, and you may need to tap into them. And it may be uncomfortable for you if you are the person who was always giving. Being able to receive the help that you may need right now might be difficult, but I promise you that's a good place where you may find the joy.